Hi, this is Shay Jackson with Hype Math. In today's 4th and 5th grade video, we will be reviewing 3-digit addition with regrouping word problems. Let's get started. Remember, 4th and 5th graders, be somebody who makes everybody feel like a somebody. Kid President. Before we look at our word problems, let's review some addition clue words. Now, these are not all of the addition clue words. When you see a word problem and you see these words, it means to add. These are just a few, some common ones. They are some, more, added, plus, altogether, and, total, in all. So let's look at our first word problem. There are 107 dogwood trees currently in the park. Park workers will plant 135 more dogwood trees today. How many dogwood trees will the park have when the workers are finished? So when we're looking at our word problem, let's ask a few questions. Can we find the addition clue word? If yes, draw a square around it and write the word. For any word problem, this is very important because it helps you to remind yourself what operation you need to use. Although we're talking about addition, you can see a clue word for subtraction, multiplication, or division. So whenever you see a clue word, go ahead and draw a square around it so that you can remember what operation you need to use. We also need to know how many dogwood trees are currently in the park and how many dogwood trees will be planted by the workers. So in looking at our word problem, we see that our addition clue word is more. When we see more, it should trigger our mind that, okay, we need to add. The number of dogwood trees currently in the park is 107, and the number that the workers will be planting today are 135 trees. So let's see how we will set up our addition word problem. We will be using expanded notation in order to add our problem. For 107, we see that we have 100 in the hundreds place, a 0 in the tens place, because if you notice, there's a 0 in the tens place, and in the ones place, we have a 7. For 135, there is 100 in the hundreds place, 30 in the tens place, and 5 in the ones place. Now let's add each column starting at the ones place. 7 plus 5 is 12. 0 plus 30 is 30. 100 plus 100 is 200. Now, let's look at our next line. What we're going to do is see if we can break our problem up into expanded notation. For 12, we know that is 10 plus 2, 30, it stays 30, and then we have 200. On the next to the last line, what we're going to do is add all of our place values together. In the ones place, we just have a 2. In the tens place, we have 30. Plus, you see we have that 10 in the ones place. We need to add that 2. So that'll be 30 plus 10, which is 40, and we have our 200. So our final answer, we have 200 in our hundreds place, 40 in our tens place, a 2 in our ones place. Our final answer is 242 trees. Let's look at another example, and we'll use expanded notation for this one as well. What is the sum of 468 and 285? We're going to ask our 4 questions. Can we find the addition clue word? If yes, we need to draw a square around it and write the word. What is the first number in the sentence? And also, what is the second number in the sentence? Which is important because we need to know what numbers we will be using for the word problem. Do we have an addition clue word? Yes, we do. And what is it? It's sum. We put a square around the word sum, which means addition or to add. The first number in the sentence is 468, and the second number is 285. So let's set up our word problem. Again, we are going to use expanded notation in order to add our 2 numbers. For 468, we see that we have 400 in the hundreds place, 60 in the tens place, 8 in the ones place. For 285, we have 200 in the hundreds place, 80 in the tens place, and 5 in the ones place. Starting at the ones column, 8 plus 5 is 13, and then we can drop down and we can see that we can split that into expanded notation, 10 plus 3. Now let's look at the tens place. 60 plus 80 is 140. Let's drop down the next row and we see that we can separate that into expanded notation, 100 plus 40. 400, looking at the hundreds place, we have 400 plus 200, that's equal to 600. So now let's look at each column to see what we should add. In our ones column, we just have the 3. For our tens column, we have 40, but also we have that 10 in the ones column or in the ones place. So we'll have 40 plus 10, that's equal to 50. And we have 600 plus 100, that is in the tens place, that is equal to 700. So our final answer, we have 700 in the hundreds place, 50 in the tens place, and a 3 in the ones place. Our final answer is 753. Let's try one more problem using the expanded notation. This time, once we have our keyword and also the numbers, I'll give you a few seconds so that you can figure out and think about what needs to go in each column. While working in an orchard, Keith picked 293 apples and Sally picked 327 apples. How many apples were picked in all? I did want to just take a moment to say you can download, there will be a link in the description box so that you can download the worksheets to go along with this video. Okay, so we have our 4 steps. We're going to find out if we can find an addition clue word. And if the answer is yes, we are going to put a square around it and write the word. We need to find out how many apples Keith picked in the orchard and also how many apples Sally picked as well. Yes, we do have an addition clue word. As a matter of fact, we have 2. We have and also in all. How many apples did Keith pick in the orchard? 293. How many apples did Sally pick? 327. So let's set up our word problem. And I'll give you just a few seconds to think about what will go in the hundreds place for both numbers, what would go in the tens place, and also what would go in the ones place. All right, let's take a look. So we know that Keith picked 293 apples. There is a 200 in the hundreds place, 90 in the tens place, 3 in the ones place. For 327, there is 300 in the hundreds place, 20 in the tens place, and a 7 in the ones place. Now let's add. We will start with our ones column. 3 plus 7 is 10. Tens place, 90 plus 20 is 110. And in the hundreds place, 200 plus 300 is equal to 500. So let's see if there's anything we could break out into expanded notation. For the ones place, all we have is 10. There isn't a number in the ones column, so we know that we will add 10 plus 10, and that is equal to 20. For the 100s place, we have 500. Also, we have 100 in the tens place. 500 plus 100 is equal to 600. So we have 600 in the hundreds place, 20 in the tens place, 0 in the ones place. And our final answer is 620 apples. All right, so we are going to try another problem. This time, what we will do is just regrouping, okay? Our word problem says, in a bank, a teller counted 637 quarters in one bag plus 278 quarters in another bag. How many quarters were in both bags? That's a lot of quarters. We're going to go through our 4 steps. Do we see an addition clue word? If so, we are going to put a square around it and write the word. We will write down how many quarters are in the first bag and also how many quarters the teller counted in the other bag. Yes. Do we have an addition clue word? Yes, we do. It's plus. So we put a square around plus, and we are going to write our numbers. We have 637 quarters plus 278 quarters. Now, what we're going to do is start at the ones place. We have 7 plus 8, that is 15. So we will write down the 5 in the ones place and carry our 1. In the tens place, we have 3 plus 7, which is 10, plus 1, which is 11. We are going to write our 1 down and carry the 1 to the hundreds place. 6 plus 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So our final answer is 915 bags. That is how many quarters we have in each bag. Let's look at our next problem. How many Pokemon cards would Tom have if he added 166 cards to his current collection of 515 cards? We will find out if we see an addition clue word. Can you find it? If so, go ahead and put a square around it and write the word. Also, we need the number for how many cards Tom is adding to his collection, and also how many cards he currently has. So let's take a look. Yes, we can find an addition clue word. The word is added. So we will put a square around the word. We know that Tom is adding 166 cards to his current collection, and also he currently has 515 cards. So let's see how we will set that up in an addition problem. Okay, we have 166 plus 515. Let's start at the ones place. 6 plus 5 is equal to 11. So we will put a 1 in the ones place and carry our other 1 to the tens place. 6 plus 1 is equal to 7. And we need to add another 1, which will make it 8. Moving to the hundreds place, we have 1 plus 5 is equal to 6. Our final answer is 681 cards. Let's look at another problem. A library has 147 science fiction books and 380 comic books. How many books do they have in total? Remember, we need to go over our 4 steps. Can we find an addition clue word? If we can, let's put a square around it and write the word. We need to find out how many science fiction books there are in the library and also how many comic books there are. Can we find an addition clue word? Yes, we can. That word is total. We also found out that there are 147 science fiction books in the library and also 380 comic books. Let's see how we would set up this word problem. We will have 147 plus 380. Always starting at the ones place, 7 plus 0 is equal to 7. 4 plus 8 is equal to 12. We will put a 2 in the tens place and carry our 1. 1 plus 3 is equal to 4, plus 1 is 5. So the total number of books is 527. And remember, you can download the worksheets. There will be a link in the description box so that you can download these worksheets for notes or also to follow along. And that is it for our 4th and 5th grade math review of 3-digit addition with regrouping. This is Shay Jackson with Hype Math, and I will talk to you soon.